mates. Welcome back to Lesson 4. I saw some decent work in our last photo assignment. Good on you, mates. You're really coming along. Today, we're going to talk about manual exposure. Manual exposure. Well, if you want consistent photos, there's only one way to fly. It's all about taking complete creative control of your camera, so that when you're in the right spot at the right time, you'll be able to capture that image just the way you want. So let's get to it.
Exposure compensation is not some fourth dimension of exposure. By shooting in manual mode, your exposure is definite and you are the master.
So with all three dials at your exposure, all three dials at your command, you will have complete creative control. So that said, we're going to have to X the X factor of exposure compensation. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. In photography, we have laws, just like everywhere else. The law of reciprocity. That's right. So what this law states is that if you adjust one thing, like the aperture, then you have to adjust the other, like the shutter speed. Or in digital photography, we can adjust the ISO. And there's the beauty of manual mode. There we go. What is this reciprocity? Well, it states that if you adjust one thing upwards, you must adjust the other thing downwards. What goes up must come down. That's all there is to it. So one stop open in aperture means you must speed up the shutter speed. You must double it, right? Or the other way, if you decrease your aperture by one stop, then you must let Olympia show you on the simulator. This is ridiculous.
It is a partly cloudy day in this situation, so with our 50mm lens, we set our ISO to 200. In order to obtain the same exposure utilizing different creative controls, we would first choose which setting is most important as we visualize the final result. Let us choose shutter speed, as we need to make sure that yet have enough blur in the pinwheel to illustrate motion. At first we will guess a shutter speed of 1/30th of a second, and adjust either the aperture or ISO to bring the light meter to read in the middle. We adjust the aperture to f6.3 and we have a good light meter reading. But when we take the photo, we see too much blur in the girl. So we adjust the shutter speed to 125th of a second. 30 doubled is 60, and 60 doubled is 120, so our closest setting in the camera is 125th of a second. We have doubled the shutter speed 2 times, so by the law of reciprocity, we must either open up the aperture 2 stops, to f4, or double the ISO to 800. We will double the ISO to 800. We are fairly happy with the result, but have decided we want to further lose focus on the background, so we will open up the f-stop 2 stops to 3.2. But we like our shutter speed as it is, so we will reduce the ISO by dividing the number in half, twice, to ISO 200. This way, we retain the desired shutter speed, obtain the desired aperture, through the use of an adjustable ISO and manual exposure. Practice with the simulator yourself to get a better working relationship with the law of reciprocity, and of course, your camera.
You're trying to shoot this action subject, right? And it's backlit because the sun is bright and you can't really move the mountain to Muhammad. You are where you are and you have to be where you're at. And so you do what you do with what you got. And that's what manual exposure is all about, because you're in a bad situation and you want to make it good. Make the best of a bad situation with the manual exposure. Let's say you were on aperture priority at your widest f-stop, 2.8, and the action subject was backlit. The light meter is exposing for the bright sky, So you think, no problem, I'll just whip my little dial around, brighten things up with exposure compensation. If you're at f2.8, what's it going to do? It can't open up anymore. It's going to slow down your shutter speed. You're screwed, mate. So you get your shots back from Costco or whatever, or you just open them up on your computer, and they are blurry. Blurry, nasty, nasty blurry. So what you going to do? Manual mode. That's right. So you're going to open up your ISO 2 times. That would be at 100, you go to 200, then to 400. This way, we retain the desired shutter speed, obtain the desired aperture through the use of an adjustable ISO and manual exposure.